Aloha friends, it's Robert Stellick. Welcome to season number 2 of the Blue Planet Show. If you're watching this, you probably already know that this show is all about wing foiling and the personalities behind the sport. I try to go a little bit deeper, find out more, get the good juicy stories, and just learn more about the people and how they live their best life. So I hope you can join me for another season. Today's show is a really cool talk story session with 4 of Oahu's best wing foilers, and we just give each other advice, for more advanced stuff like wing foiling and onshore wind, how to handle your wing without it getting in your way, and then also jumping off the top of the lip and landing back in the wave. But we also talk about more entry-level tips, just like how to get up on the foil, and tips for beginners, like how to get started in this cool sport. So I hope you really enjoy this conversation. And I just want to apologize that, it's been a while since last year's 16 episodes. I got really busy opening a second location for Blue Planet. We now have a new shop in Hale'iwa. It's running pretty smoothly. And then around Christmas time, I got COVID, and I was really feeling low energy and not that good for several months. So about a third of the people who get COVID actually feel the long-term symptoms. So I hope you're not one of them. But I'm happy to report that my energy's back. I feel good. I'm excited to produce more shows. So I'm going to re-interview some of the people that I talked to last year and also talk to new people. And I really appreciate everyone's suggestions, comments down below. Just keep them coming, and I appreciate the support. And I hope you enjoy this cool conversation with my buddies. All right, thanks for joining me, guys. Today I got Koa, Eli, Derek, and Lucas here with me to do a little voiceover on a video that we shot a few weeks ago. And I wanted to talk a little bit about winging in onshore wind, like riding waves in onshore wind, because it's something that I always find a little bit tricky with the wing handling and stuff like that. So Luca was the drone photographer that day, and then Koa, Eli, and Derek and I were all in the water. So I'm going to screen share here, and we're going to play this video. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
You can see it? Okay, cool. So yeah, this was kind of a rainy, overcast day, and we went to another spot first, and it was kind of raining, and we weren't sure if the wind was going to be good, so we kept going. And then the wind seemed really light, and we weren't sure if it's going to be windy enough, so we ended up sending out Koa first to see if it was windy enough. So tell us a little bit about that, Koa. You were the first one to go out. How was it just to get going?
Yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking just because it was my first time being there, and I was just like, oh no, what if I go to the sandbank and like hit the sand and like just get stuck, and hoping that the wind was there.
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky spot because if you can't get up on foil, you end up getting, pushed downwind into the bay and like basically on the shallow sand. But once we saw you able to get up and going, we all pumped up and went out as well. And then this is actually at my second session. I came in and got the camera, my back mounted GoPro Max camera. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about a little bit, like one thing I struggle with is when you're riding the wave, going with the wind, I never know where to place it. So it does, like, because if you put it in front of you, you end up getting kind of backwinded. And then sometimes when you put it behind you, then it gets like stuck on the water or flips over. So maybe Eli, tell us a little bit about how you handle the wing in onshore conditions.
What I try to do is have it bluffing behind me with enough momentum. So before I set it behind me, I make sure the wing has momentum and is moving enough for it to float. Because if it doesn't have that movement or momentum, it'll kind of drop like you mentioned. Also, sometimes I'll let the tip touch the water for a little bit, And when I turn, I usually try and swing it around. And that swinging energy really helps keep it floating a little. But yeah, you're right. It's really challenging with onshore conditions.
Yeah. What about you, Derek? Do you have any pointers for the riding in onshore conditions?
I think because I use that Y handles to when I'm surfing it, I don't really feel any like even if it's onshore or offshore, I kind of keep the wing on my shoulder like a shield, and that prevents any backwinding or any kind of stuff. Yeah, it just, I don't know, wherever my shoulder goes, like in the video, it kind of helps. But if I was to hold the front handle, definitely would have to like take a different approach, yeah, to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've noticed that too. Even in well, I guess if it's side offshore, it's kind of hard to do that, but you kind of like to keep the wing really close to your shoulder and then hold it by the Y handle.
Yes, yeah. And then with that allows me to kind of use the wing tips like as a pivot point, you know.
Yeah.
It seems like with that onshore conditions, how Derek holds it. Sometimes when it's onshore, the wind will kind of power up the top of the wing, and he'll get some power and speed from that almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of pushing you, kind of like how you back wing, you know, when a guy's put the wing behind him and he's just riding for miles.
Mm-hmm.
It's I can use that as kind of as a advantage and get me through flat spots, or project you to a turn to make it look like you're turning even harder, but actually what's happening is the wind is just kind of pushing you, and you just surfing a foil, you know, instead of trying to mitigate what's happening.
Yeah. What about you, Koa? What was this the first time you winged? No, you winged in Kailua and other onshore conditions before, right?
Yeah, I would just say just keep the speed going and the wing will just do its own thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it just takes some practice too. Like I guess I just hadn't had that much practice riding in onshore wind. It's just different. When sideshore conditions, you can just kind of flag it out and it'll stay kind of next to you. But it's definitely different when it's onshore conditions. You have to, yeah, you just have to make sure that it doesn't end up in front of you when you're going faster than the wind. Yeah. So like if you're going down the line on the wave or with the wave, sometimes you can get backwinded, and then that's like, you definitely don't want the wing between you and the wave, basically. What I've noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you end up running over. You're either going to run over your wing and land on it, like you're rafting or something, or it's going to come in front of you, and then if there's other surfers or all your other winger friends, you're not going to be able to see anything at all, you know.
Right.
So you just gotta I think if you go and you probably spend a few hours, you should be able to figure out what'll work, you know.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not something where you just go over there and you show up and you're comfortable. You just gotta work it out, or surf other spots in that similar wind range and just figure out what works best.
Right. Cool. So the one thing that was really fun that day was like just jumping on the, you know, kind of like jumping off the top of the wave and landing back into the wave, and that seems like it's pretty easy to do when the wind's blowing onshore, because the wind kind of pushes you back into the wave. Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about that technique of like jumping off the top of the wave and landing back into it? Maybe Eli? You were doing a lot of those jumps.
I am regular footed. So the wind is a little side onshore. Kind of favorable for being regular footed. That means jumping going left would be heel side. With these light onshore conditions, anytime it's onshore, it's a little easier to stay on the wave. But these conditions were really light and onshore, so it makes it a little more challenging. You definitely want to project your momentum forward and not too much to the side. You don't want to fall out the back. You want to make sure you land in front of the wave so you can continue riding it. But yeah, anytime there's onshore conditions, it'll kind of help push you into the wave a little. Yeah, look at that. That was a nice one. It landed right in the whitewash and came down. That was a nice one.
Any tips for pulling off the landings more consistently?
It's all up. It's really helpful if you land in front of the wave so you can keep your speed and momentum up. Also, the way you point your foil in the water when you come down can be helpful. And when you kind of bring the foil up, that kind of helps stabilize it a little, like a little Rayleigh or kind of bringing it up a little. That helps me anyway, stabilize it, and it helps me stay sheeted in with the wing. You can see Derek bringing it up and landing it right down there.
Yeah, I find it helps to put your weight a little bit on the back so you don't nosedive on the landing. Yeah, and then what seems to work for me is like touching down slightly with the board, but then trying to pop it back up right away back on the foil. What about you, Derek? You got any tips for the landings?
Yeah, in that watching the video and stuff, you would, when you come into your approach to do an air, you kind of hit that top section, but you hold your wing kind of so that the wind is in your sail and it's pushing you forward. Not necessarily just going straight up and holding it. Because if you point your wing straight up, it'll take you up, and then the wave will pass by you. So you gotta kind of go up and angle your wing towards the direction that the waves are going, and then it'll help you push you and it land you towards the wave face, and then from there you can surf it out. Yeah. I think if you was to just hit it like a regular air and like you're just going out, it'll just take you straight up. The wave will pass and you land behind. In some of the videos you can see, some of the guys land behind and you're like, oh shucks, but they didn't mean to do that. It's just that the projection and the way the wind, you got to take your airs in the same direction that the wave is flowing. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Koa? You got any pointers for jumping?
I would usually just pump my wing, get enough air, and once I do, I try to go like on the edge of the wave, and once I'm in the air, I try to like snap it onto the wave. So if I'm going, here's the wave, and then if I'm going like up it, I try snapping on it so I can go back down it. But my dad says always like point it down and then you'll come back up. But usually that doesn't work because I usually just nosedive. So I like keep it flat when I land.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. If I landed too flat, once the nose catches, then you're done with it. Yeah, so I almost try to lean a little bit on the tail, keep the weight on the tail so that doesn't happen. But yeah, here you can see Derek really getting the wing behind you, so it's almost like the wind's pushing you, right? Like the wind's pushing you from behind. And then I'm gonna play this one again because that was kind of a good one. You see where you get the wing kind of behind you, where it's kind of pushing you, and then swing it around. That's pretty stylish. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah, no, it seemed like watching the videos and, you know, from when we was there, it didn't seem like you have any issues with the onshore. I guess it was that's what you felt when you was riding. You felt like it was kind of hampering your style a little bit, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like I could either go left or go right, but then like the transitions between like going like back and weaving back and forth, I just haven't figured out how to put the wing behind me like that yet. You know, like where it's smooth. You know, I haven't. That's kind of still something I'm working on. And it looks like Koa, you're still working on that too. A lot of times the wing wants to flip over, like here, yeah. Like it catches and flips over. So, but yeah, I've seen you too. Like you and Eli both. Sometimes you drag the tip of the wing a little bit so it kind of comes behind you and when you turn. Yeah, I've seen that.
You know what? For me, it kind of helps.
To just help it go, help it flow.
Even like in this one too, it kind of helps for me if I switch hands almost. That one I came over my head, but sometimes when I'm turning to keep it directly behind me, almost like in my draft, I'll pass the leading edge handle behind my back and switch hands. Sometimes that'll help keep that swinging momentum. There's almost like there's more rotational inertia coming out of the turn. Especially with those bigger wings. I think I was riding a 7 meter.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of meat and mass to it, but those wings move through the air pretty well. I like the momentum that develops from those wings actually flying through the air.
Yeah, I mean, having a big wing is nice too when you do jumps because it's so lofty. Yeah, you can kind of really hold, like it'll pull you up, right?
Oh yeah.
What I like about using a bigger wing too. All right, I think that was it for this video. I'm gonna stop screen sharing here. You see,
yeah, everybody was ripping that day. I mean, it was pretty fun and impressive of what everybody, you know, like the performance it was doing, and just you could see by the look in the people that was proning or longboarding, and even the guys in the parking lot, you know, they just was looking at us and going, why aren't we doing that, you know?
yeah, I mean, it's always fun to go out with a group of guys and everybody's kind of pushing each other, and you watch the other guys doing stuff and then you try it too and stuff like that. Yeah, so definitely makes it more challenging. But here I wanted to talk a little about this one where Derek, I think this is the first time you pulled off at back loop, is that right? Where you pulled out of it, or have you pulled off other ones?
Just one before, but this is the only one on, you know, like film and stuff like that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about like your technique. Like, what do you do? What do you try? What do you think about, or how does it work for you?
I did. So when I attempted a few, I noticed my wing was getting stuck. And then I remember once you mentioned trying to do you watching the video and you said, it seems like I don't get enough air time before I start my rotation. I try to flick it as soon as I hit the wave. So watching other guys' videos, I noticed that they project themselves up first, and then they complete their rotation. So earlier that day, I tried to do one, and same thing, you know, the wing caught and I fell. Like, oh shucks, I got to change that up. So when I was going out a few other times, not even jumping, I would just project the wing with my leading arm on the leading edge side, just going straight up, and jumping straight up kind of deal, and not necessarily rotating, just getting that feel to, okay, I got to go up first, and then once I'm up at the peak, then go ahead and rotate. And on that one, that's kind of what happened. Is just kind of went up and did a rotation, and luckily none of the tips or anything else touched and pulled me back down, and then I was able to just land it. Still kind of working on riding out of it, but the last time I attempted, the wings caught, and then even on when I came down, it caught on the back of the wave, and my foil went through the wing, and I was like, oh man. So I knew I never do what was supposed to be done, so but that's just part of it, right?
Right on. So I'm just playing another video. This is on the North Shore, where with Derek and Eli and I. So, and actually, I wanted to ask you, Lucas, talk a little bit about the challenges of filming wing foiling with a drone. Like,
yeah, absolutely. First thing, I'm probably about a mile offshore with you guys, and this has been a learning experience for me as well. I did get some good shots, but a lot of it was learning how to keep everybody in frame. This video that we did was actually probably one of my best to better ones. But just trying to keep everybody in frame, and especially if there's multiple people. Like this clip right here was awesome. It's probably one of the best clips I ever did. But just especially if there's like 2-3 people, trying to keep everybody in frame was the hardest. Trying to stay steady and make sure that I'm high enough that nothing's gonna happen. I'm not gonna run into anybody or catch a wave myself. But just like with foiling practice, you get better. So
yeah. Yeah, and what's interesting too is that like this, for this 7-minute video, we were on the water probably for several hours, and I think you used up like 9 batteries, right? Like
yes.
you flew in and out 9 times, and it is pretty far out. So yeah, it takes a lot of work to get that footage. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference. Like here you can see the wind's blowing more like side offshore. So it's really different the way you hold the wing. Like you can just hold it out to the side, and it pretty much just, I find it easier to handle the wing when it's just blowing off side offshore. What do you think, Eli?
Yeah, definitely. It keeps the wing to the side and behind you. Nothing in the front, so you got a clear view of the wave or where you need to go. Also, when it's onshore, the wing is in front of you, and you're always battling the tip from the tips falling down in front of you and touching the water. So it's definitely much easier. But this place in particular is pretty tricky where we were. The wind is really up and down. Once you ride the wave further in, the wind gets really light. So it's pretty tricky. It was kind of challenging.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tricky spot. And if you fall in the impact zone, sometimes there's like no wind and you can't really get going again. Yeah, you can't get back out again. But I think, Derek, sometimes you try to still kind of get the wing behind you, even in the side offshore conditions, right?
Yes, yeah. With that Y handle shield position, I can just it's kind of beneficial because I can go into the wind and come back against the wind and just still hold the wing, and it won't really affect the good thing about the side shore, like where the wing gonna be, because the wind is just blowing one way, yeah. versus the onshore condition. You kind of, okay, I'm riding right and I'm going fast, so the wing is going to be behind me. But as soon as I turn, everything would drop, and then you know, all of a sudden you have the wing in front of you. So with this one, no matter where you're going, it should be in front because you have that super strong gusty wind. Yeah. As soon as you turn, it's going to be that side, whatever, west side of you.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, with that little Y stuff, because it's not on the leading edge, I feel like I can hold it and like manipulate the wing a little more to kind of conform to, you know, to the wave. Like sometimes when you're on the wave and if it gets steeper, a lot of times the wind will come up the face and blowing up, and then, you know, if you're not ready for that, the lost handle will just start spinning on you, because all of a sudden it's going from side shore position until it's and when you get to the steep part of the wave, it's going to start going from your feet up to your head, and then you're going to be, you know, like trying to fight that.
Yeah, because while you're holding that Y handle, it's your forearm and your shoulder is also in contact with the wing, right? So you got 3 points of contact. It seems like it would be a lot more stable than just holding the left handle.
So you can kind of stabilize it with your shoulder too, I guess, Sam.
Yeah. And it becomes another part of your just another part of your body, you know. You just got to get ready for that little push of wind to backwind you or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about like the wing size. Like I know I kind of like using a little bit bigger wing, and I know Eli, I guess it's just depends on your body weight too. If you weigh more, it's definitely helpful to have a bigger wing. It's also easier to handle a bigger wing, I guess, if you're tall and a little bit stronger, bigger. But I've noticed, Derek, most of the time it seems like you're almost always on your 4-meter wing, huh?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I tried, unless the wind is almost dead, I'll go ahead and use the 5-meter. But as far as I find the 4 is just fine. You know, it's enough to going. I'm about 145, 150 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and my board is like, I think it's about 75 liters, and using 1,000, most times within 1,000 oil, so it's enough to get me going, you know.
And usually when you start, you get up in the standing position on your board before you lift the wing out of the water, right? Like you stand up on the board and then you lift up the wing, right?
Yes, yeah. Not on the knees or sinking or whatever. Yeah. The
What
board
about
is just
Eli
has enough float.
Koa? Do you do it that way too, Koa? I know your dad Eddie does it that way too, right? Standing on the board.
Yeah, he's the one that taught me how to do it.
So you do it that way too?
Yeah, I never did a knee start before.
Huh. And what about you, Eli?
Same here. I use my board has a lot of leaders, so I stand on it first, leaning on the wing, and then I'll pull it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I recently started using a pretty small board. It's only like I think it's like around 55 liters or something like that, and like there's no way I could stand up on it, so I pretty much have to knee start. But that's how I've been doing it all along, anyways. But yeah, I guess that standing technique is probably a little bit easier on your knees and back too. You know, you don't have to kneel on your board as much.
It can be a little tippier because when you're up out of the water, it's a little less stable.
Right.
So I think there's pros and cons to both ways.
So let's talk a little bit about getting up on foil, like the technique for like pumping or like if the wind's not quite enough to easily like have it pull you up onto the foil, like what do you do to kind of get moving and get up on the foil? What are some pointers for that?
You know, I think a lot
Go
of
ahead,
it.
Eli. I think you have a lot of training for this, yeah? Yeah, Eli.
Yeah, Eli is like the light wind master, huh?
You know, I think a lot of it has to do with the type of foil too. I know the higher aspect wings, front wings with less cord, longer wingtip, longer wingspan. In my experience, those foils like to speed is your friend when you're trying to get up. So when I try to get up with those in light wind, I really focus all of my pulling and pumping to go forward, gaining speed, and the speed helps you get up. When I use lower aspect wings or the mid aspect wings, I tend to direct my pulling and pumping upwards. So I try to pull my weight up and I try to bounce the board to get it up. But with the higher aspect wings, I try to pull my weight forward and looking for any kind of, especially when the wind is light, looking for any kind of current or little bump that might be going your way, trying to get on that bump and use that to build your speed as well.
Yeah, and I think like for gaining speed for a high aspect foil like that has like a kind of a higher planing speed. It really helps to have a board that kind of glides well too, or kind of generates that speed easily, right? But I guess the other trick is in light wind is just to not fall in, right? So as long as you're up on foil, if you don't come off the foil, usually you can keep it going. But if once you come off, then sometimes you just have to wait for a gust or whatever to pick you up again, right?
Yes, yeah. Very you know, initially when we all was learning, we just would stay out till, oh shucks, we got to paddle in, you know. But now as you progress, I think every winger, you see the signs and you know recognize there's a rain cloud or there's not too much texture, and we recognize now is good. Well, we got to go in, you know. We fly to other people. I mean, in our circle, we fly to other people like, hey, it's getting light. Let's head in, and usually we make it in. You know, it's the most times when you try to push the limits is when you get stuck out there and you gotta, you know, get a ride in, or somebody would just come down the beach and pick you up.
Yeah, but I mean, I find that, well, here in Hawaii anyways, like even when the wind's dying, it'll, you know, there'll still be like a couple more gusts coming before it completely dies, you know. So sometimes if you're just patient, instead of paddling in, you can wait and eventually there'll be another gust to get you going, and then you can usually ride back in. I don't know. Like to me, sometimes it's worth it to be patient and wait a little bit before you take that long paddle in.
Yeah, but it's part of the learning curve where you recognize that and you go, okay, the next one we're going, you know, I'm going in. In the beginning, it used to be like, oh, we're back, we're good win again, let's go, you know, and you keep staying out another 10-15 minutes, and all of a sudden it's like for real the wind is gone, and then you're going, oh, I really think I gotta paddle now, you know.
Yeah, sometimes
especially when you're looking at
when the last gust comes, you just, it's best to just go in, right, with that last gust. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and then I found I noticed for myself on getting up on wing when it's lighter wind, when I'm first starting holding a wing in my hand and I'm waiting, it'll be heel-side, which is, you know, a little bit easier for most people. I'll have my feet wide at a wide stance in my straps, and once I feel that little bit gust coming, I'll give a couple pumps with my arms, couple, you know, pump my legs, and then as I'm going forward with my arm momentum and getting that little pull, I'll go ahead and slide my foot forward in the straps. And that, as that little movement of my foot coming forward will be enough to like scoop the foil forward and up, and that'll help me get up on foil easier than just standing in a like a lock position.
Okay.
It's hard. It's kind of that. I know that's kind of what I do. It's hard to kind of picture it, but next time we're at the beach, I'll kind of show you. Just to like, kind of like how the prone paddlers, when they do flat water starts, same momentum. You just kind of scoop the board forward, and then you slide your feet in the straps forward, and that'll help propel the foil forward and up as you're pumping your arms.
Yeah. I mean, one thing about pumping the wing too is like sometimes I see people pumping kind of almost too hard, where they're pulling so hard that then there's like the wing just like flops on the way back. So I think the trick is to kind of have more of a smooth, kind of more of a like it's more like a rotation, and you don't want the wing to get backwinded or flap totally. Like you want to keep a little bit of power in the wing, but it's like generating a little bit of extra pull, and then at the same time as you're kind of pulling on the wing, you kind of lift up on your feet a little bit, and sometimes that's enough just to release the board and get going. Yeah, but yeah, it's tricky. But that's
a similar concept towards when say you want to do 2-for-1s or you're pumping into waves, you got to have that smooth cadence, that pumping, because if you kind of go like too much off rhythm, you won't be able to maneuver that foil, and then you'll come off foil and then drop down. So same thing with like you said, with the wing pumping, you need to have that that nice cadence going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Koa, do you have any tips on getting going or getting up on foil?
So like as you said, I do that round motion, and if I go too hard, that's gonna come back at me, and that just slows me down. So what I do is once I see a little bit texture in the water, I get on my board, I start doing that rounded rotation, and then what I do is I jump. Like I jump in the water. Like I'm jumping without the board. I just like jump up, and while I'm just pumping, and once I feel that pull, I just like pull it, and then I jump into it, and that's how I get up.
Oh, so you kind of almost jump with your feet off the board completely to unweight it completely, kind of thing. Yeah. Do you have your feet in the straps when you do that?
Sometimes, or like yeah, sometimes I keep it off, and then I just like go on it, and I slide the board more to get the motion going, and then I jump, and then the board will come up, and then I put my feet in the straps, or just if it's windy, then I'll just put my feet in the straps, and I can just get up easily.
Yeah. But yeah, something to mention for kind of people starting out, like when you're starting out, I guess you depend more on having either really strong wind or just a bigger wing and a bigger foil to get going. But yeah, as you get better and develop that technique for pumping and so on, then you can work your way down to using a smaller foil and a smaller wing and a smaller board. And having that equipment, it just makes everything else nicer. Because basically if you're using a big board and a big wing and a big foil, once you're up on foil, then it's kind of, you have everything that's like more than you need. Yeah, you're overpowered, you have too much lift from the foil, and the board's kind of in your way because it's so big. Yeah, so as you get better, that's kind of the goal, to kind of use the smallest equipment you can use, basically, right?
And Koa brought up a good point. He said that when he sees a gust coming or he sees the texture on the water, it's really important to know the area you're in. Depends how the wind is blowing. If the wind is more offshore, you get shorter a shorter glimpse at when the gust is coming. Sometimes if it's side or onshore, you can see the gust coming from far away. And it's important, in my opinion, to be able to visually tell kind of like the wind speed. You can see texture on the water and you can be thinking like, oh, that's not enough wind. And you see more texture on the water and you think, okay, when that gust comes here, that's going to be enough wind. So you can start prepping. When you see it coming, you can start getting up, start pulling a little, build up your momentum, build up your speed. Then when that gust does hit you, you're halfway there. All you need is a couple pumps or a couple little hops. And that's especially important when the wind is light and the gusts are coming, really quick and short little puffs.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah. And also to kind of save your energy. Sometimes people wear themselves out before the good gust comes, and then they fall in right when the wind is strong enough to just pull them out without doing anything. Right. So, yeah, sometimes just being a little bit patient and waiting for the right moment to take off is really key. Right. And looking for it, looking upwind and see what's coming.
And the other thing too is if you're
Yeah.
up trying to pull yourself up and the wind is not strong enough, if you're going away from shore, you could be pulling yourself far away from shore and you're gonna have to paddle in farther. And you can also be pulling yourself away from the windier spot too. Like if you kind of know your area. So if you're just standing up, and the wind is too light to get up, you could be sailing away, so it might be better to sit down until you see a good gust coming so you're not losing ground or anything.
All right.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. We've seen that a bunch of times where it'll be strong enough wind to keep you moving on the surface, but not enough gusts to get you up and flying. So we see, a bunch of times where guys are just trying, guys and girls actually, and they're end up going like way down the coast or way out, and luckily there's a steady gust and they can get up and then fly back in. So yeah, I also recommend, if you looking on the water surface and you see it's kind of glassy and still, you look behind of it and you see texture, you just kind of sit and wait, or you just kind of hold your wing, put your wing in the water like an anchor and just, wait till you see it, till that texture is coming closer. And once it's coming closer, then you get your balance, get your stance ready, and then, get ready to go and give that couple pumps and hopefully you get up.
Right. Exactly. And then I've noticed too, like sometimes, even when you have a really big wing, you still have to wait for that gust. It's like not like you can just get going at any moment you want, right? Even with a 7-meter wing, you still have to wait for that gust to get going. And I think one of the big advantages though of having a really big wing in those light wind days is that you can kind of make it through the lulls. Like if there's a spot where there's almost no wind at all, with a big wing, you can just kind of fly through it without too much trouble. Whereas on a small wing, you kind of wear yourself out pumping and maybe not make it through that lull. So that's kind of, I think, one of the bigger advantages of having a big wing and light wind is just that you can keep going easier, more than getting going earlier, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
and Derek, I know you've been teaching a lot of people. Like, what kind of stuff do you see? Like, do you have any tips for beginners, people starting out? Like, what kind of mistakes do you see a lot? Like, what kind of tips do you give people that are starting out and learning?
A lot of things I see is they're trying to take bigger steps than they should, like to be more advanced. Oh, I'm better than this. I foil, I kite, I do all of that, and they just use too small boards, wings. They're trying to pump and pump their legs and pump their arms at the same time. And then trying to go to too much of an advanced spot. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to a little kiddie pool or a learning area, get it down and advance from there. Like like everybody else that did it, you know. And it's always good, especially when you do advance and you want to learn something else. It's always good to go back, work on that thing in that little kiddie pool, and then apply it to the breaks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So don't try to advance too quickly. Go in like flat water locations first. And I find it really helps to have a place too where you can just go downwind, right? Where you don't have to worry about staying in one spot. Like you can just keep going downwind or get picked up somewhere downwind or something like that, right?
Yes, yeah. Because a lot of times, it's a mental thing too. So when you're flying and you're going further down, and you're looking back and going, oh, how am I going to get back to my car or back to the beach or my friends or whatnot? That kind of puts a dampen on it, and then you end up coming in to shore, and then you end up walking back 10, 15 minutes with all this big gear, and then when you go out twice, by the third time you're going, no way, I'm done, you know. So if you can get somewhere where you can go a few miles straight downwind, that'll be ideal. Or if you can go with somebody that has a escort, a boat, jet ski, or something like that, then you don't have to worry mentally. You don't have to worry, how will I get back? You know, so
right.
That really helps.
Any other good beginner tips?
Don't give up. Give up, because once you get it, it's good.
Yeah, I see that too. Like a lot of people just kind of they think they're going to learn it in a couple of days, and then when they don't, they get frustrated and they give up on it, right? So.
Yes, yeah. And if you, it's no shame in asking for assistance, for tips from anybody else, and even taking a lesson or two, because it's it'll just help out in the long run. Because if you try, you see people around, whether it's all over the world, and they try to do it on their own, and it takes them. They might get it eventually, but it takes them longer than if they went through like that little proper route.
Yeah. What about you, Koa? You got any pointers? I know you only learned to wing foil like about a year ago, or how long have you been doing it?
I would say a little less than a year.
Wow.
Like it's like the second week that I started to like learn how to hydrofoil itself, like SUP. And some beginner tips, I would say, yeah, just don't give up. Just no shame in asking for help, ask for tips, and yeah, that's it.
Would you say SUP foiling is easier or wing foiling was easier for you to learn?
I would say wing foiling, just because SUP foiling you have to like actually get on the wave, but with wing you just need wind. You can like control the board however way you like, then and like have some support, like the wind holding you while you're moving your wing. Because when you're on a SUP, you're just like balancing it out by yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about you, Eli? You got any more tips?
I'd say when learning, it's really helpful if you make it easier on yourself. Get the right gear, especially if you foil before, either SUP or prone. You're gonna want a board with enough leaders for you to comfortably stand on. You're probably gonna want a little bigger foil than you're used to, just more lift in general. That'll make things easier. The more lift, more stability would definitely help. Also, practicing on land is real helpful, because once you're in the water, you're gonna be worried about balancing, you're gonna be worried about getting up on foil. So if you already got your wind handling basics down from playing around on the land, just passing hand to hand, practicing little jibes or whatnot in the wind, That'll save you a lot of time. And also practicing with a skateboard on a nice flat area, that helps a lot.
That really helps with transitions to like driving and tacking, learning the motions to do that, because it's a lot easier to do it on a skateboard than on the water once on the foil, staying up on foil and all that, right? Yeah. Cool. Well, is there anything you guys want to say to the people getting into the sport, like in terms of like the community, or like any message you want to give to everybody getting into the sport?
Wear leashes.
I guess I would
Check your
say,
leashes.
go ahead, Eli.
No, I
Yeah,
was
go
just
ahead.
saying, wear leashes, check your leashes, always check your gear. If a wing leash breaks, you know, one flip and the wing is about 10 feet away from you, so like 2 flips, 3 flips, before you know it, it's gonna be like 30 yards away from you. Make sure you check your leashes. And also communication is key, because once you get up on foil, say you're with 2 people, once you get up on foil and you're gone, the conditions aren't always conducive for you to come back and talk story and coordinate and plan. So before you even get in the water, kind of have a game plan with your crew or your partners about where you guys are going to end, which direction you're heading, and whatnot. Communication and safety, real important.
Good.
Yes, definitely, and as well as where was it going with this? Just letting other people know, like even others in the surf, when you do get out and start going to the surf, we don't need to be going through a super crowded lineup. I mean, we can just stay outside. Like a lot of times on the Ever Coast here, we have miles of waves that we can catch to the area where the surfers are, and we can kick out, and we just tell those guys, you guys go ahead, and we'll fly back out and just enjoy, And the community right now, winging is so new. There are awesome people. Everybody's willing to help. If you do have questions, reach out, either on social media, onto your local break, to however, dude, don't feel ashamed of asking any question, any tips. That's because you see somebody doing really cool stuff. More than likely, they've just been in your shoe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year. Like wing foiling is not old, so you're gonna ask a question, and yeah, I'll go ahead and say, hey, maybe you should try this or you should try that, because we were all there before,
Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of up to us to make the community the way we want it to be, like, and like surfing is kind of a lot of times like surfers are so aggressive, or like they kind of have to be able to get a wave, and yeah, and wing foiling, you don't really we don't need that really, right? We can just have fun and share it and enjoy it together, and not have to be like all aggressive. And I don't know, like we can just share a wave and smile, right? We don't have to get all mad at each other or something. So, but I was just thinking another tip, like kind of like what Eli was saying, like if your board ever ends up being upside down with the foil sticking up and your wing is close by, like that's like emergency situation, especially if the board is upwind of your wing. Just do whatever you can to flip that foil back underwater and away from your wing, because it happens so quickly that the thing just tips over, gets blown into your wing, and then you have a big hole in your wing and you're out of action for a few days and have to get it fixed and so on. So I think that happens a lot to beginners, right? Like
yes,
happens very quickly. Also, I also see people sometimes like having their board on the beach with the foil sticking up, and then they tie the wing leash to the top of the foil or something like that, and then the first gust that comes just like blows it over, and the foil falls into the wing or something like that. So just be very aware of your foil not falling onto your wing, because that it damages your wing very easily. right? I think we've all had
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happen to
Sound
us,
like
right?
sound like. What was that from experience, or was that from something you saw?
Oh yeah, it never happened to me, of course. I just saw other people doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Same here. Yeah, yeah. Ask Brenda, she knows. Fun.
Yeah. All right. Any other last words, anyone? All right.
Awesome. No, I
I'll
just
say
want to
something.
thank you, and everything.
Sorry, Koa, you had something else to say?
Yeah, I just want to say have fun, be safe, communicate, know the wind directions, respect the community.
All right.
That's big tips.
All right. That's great.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I know Koa, you have school tomorrow morning, and we all probably have to work and stuff like that. It's like 10 o'clock at night. So thanks for joining me, and thanks for everyone watching on YouTube. And take care. I'll see you on the water. Aloha, guys. Good night.
Aloha. Thank you. Thanks, Lucas. Robert.
You got it. Good night, you guys.
All right. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end. I know some of you listen to it as a podcast and probably listen to every single word, but those of you on YouTube, if you watch it all the way to the end on YouTube, you're one of the elite 5% who watch the whole thing from start to end. So congratulations for that, and thanks for sticking around. So please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave your comments down below, and thanks for the support for Blue Planet. Basically, the show is sponsored by people like you that support our business, Blue Planet. So I always appreciate that. We're keeping it free. I'm not charging anything, or you don't have to make any donations or anything like that. But if you can support Blue Planet next time you're buying some new foil equipment, that's really appreciated, and that's what supports this show as well. So thank you, and have a good one. See you on the water. Aloha.